Random retired YouTuber did a simple video exploring the top 5 regrets from other retirees that he interviewed, who were all in their 70s. It blew up to almost 500,000 views and counting so far. So today we want to talk about what regrets made the list, and more importantly, explore what proactive steps you can take to avoid having the same regrets when you retire.
It's easy to get lost on the way to retirement. Things like taxes, improper planning, and excessive market risk can all lead you astray from your goal of a successful and happy retirement. That's where Liz Whittaberry comes in. She's a holistic financial advisor and the founder of Best Path Advisors, and she can help guide you to a better financial path. This is Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry.
Welcome into Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry, founder and financial advisor at Best Path Advisors. And yeah, we're going to talk about this cool video that we found, and we're checking out Liz. So it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of look at the top regrets and kind of see how that resonates with what you see in your practice, and hopefully help people avoid maybe making some of those same regrets along the way. And of course, if you have questions, need help, as always, please make sure you're talking with a qualified professional like Liz before you take any action. Find her online at bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com. How you doing this week, Liz?
I am doing wonderful. And you were just telling me that it's cooler there where you are, so I'm looking forward to that.
A little cooler, yeah. Yep. Always good. So did
Yes,
you enjoy this video?
I did, and I was glad that you guys pointed it out to me, because I really thought the guy that put the video together was very, some of you could connect to.
Yeah.
He seems like
He was
your
relatable.
good friend, good neighbor, good,
Mhm.
buddy that you could really talk to.
Yeah.
He said he talked with 7 or 8 75 to 80-year-olds.
Mhm.
So that's, the resource that he's got that gave him this 5 top things that they regret.
Mhm.
7
Yeah.
to 8, 75 to 80-year-olds, and he's 65.
Gotcha. And so looking at this list, and we're going to get into it here in just a second, did you kind of agree with some of the items, the top 5? Does that kind of correlate with what you see as well when people come to talk to you?
They do. And especially as people go through retirement.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's not keep going. Let's jump right in and talk about them, and share. Feel free to share some anecdotes or whatever that might benefit listeners as well, who might be approaching this stage. So, and we'll put a link to it, by the way, so you guys can check it out. And don't forget, it's a good reminder that Liz has her own YouTube channel, a lot of good videos and content she puts out there every week. So good stuff for you to check out there. So go to bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com. And of course, you can do lots of good stuff there at the website. But if you click on the good stuff there, you can find the links to her YouTube page, videos, so on and so forth. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, they wish they had retired earlier. Not a shock there.
Yeah. And I think, what I find is when people are thinking about retiring, they're a little tentative of taking that leap sometimes. But then later they do wish that they had retired earlier, had more time in those go-go years, because in retirement, not all your years are going to be the same.
Yeah. And it's
when
scary,
you're young,
so.
It is. And he made the comment that it was a reflection, as they talked about it, of what they did and didn't do, and them thinking back at how they could have spent their time. I had a client a few years back that came in to do a plan at age 60, and they were thinking that they would retire at 65.
Okay.
And as we put the plan together, I was able to determine that they could actually retire sooner. They could retire the next year. And that is exactly what they did. Once they saw that on paper and saw that they could retire sooner,
Right.
they did retire sooner. And they wanted to double check, and are you sure? And are we really going to be secure all the way to the end of our life? And we did all the stress testing. It really gave them the confidence. That then allowed them to be present for family in ways that they wouldn't have been able to be. And there were things that came up that they didn't even know that were going to come up. And so it was a very good place for them to be. And they're having a great retirement, but it worked out for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So they don't.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was going to say, and I think people, you don't know, right? I mean, that's the whole point, right? You get to, you're getting close to retirement, and you're thinking, okay, I can't wait to be here, but I'm a little nervous to kind of stop having that paycheck come in, or not no longer feathering the nest. Right now I'm depleting the nest, so to speak. And it's a scary situation. And then you get into it, and especially if once you've realized that you do have a good spending plan in place and you're going to be just fine and you can enjoy your retirement, you think, man, why didn't I do this sooner?
Right. And people don't want to have to go back to work.
No,
And that's, I
no,
think,
no.
part of it as well. They want to just know that they're secure to the
Yeah.
end, having that confidence. Exactly right.
Yeah, for sure, right? So, I mean, my brother, retired last year in October. He's coming up on a year, and I was like, how's it been so far? And he's like, freaking love it, So and it tends to be the response a lot of times from folks. And of course, he sometimes goes, yeah, I wish I still had a little bit of extra money here or there. But I think that's par for the course too. Sometimes, right? We always kind of have that FOMO, that fear of missing out a little bit. But
Right.
all right, number 2 on this list was they wish they had spent more when they first retired, and that kind of goes a little bit to what you were just saying, where they kind of people tend to feel like, man, I wish I'd have done a little bit more in those go-go years.
Right, exactly. And that is one of the things I'm very focused on, helping people make the most of those go-go years. The gentleman on the video said, believe it or not, they wish they had spent more. And I think that was a little bit of a surprise to him because he hadn't been through that period yet.
Okay.
And he said, as you age, you do less things. This was what he picked up from the people that he was talking to. And that's true. As
Sure.
you age,
Mhm.
you go from the go-go to the slow-go to the no-go years, and you're doing less. And I think a lot of people don't spend as much as they can in early retirement because they don't know how much they can spend. And that's part of getting a plan. I have one client that had suddenly gotten offered a retirement package.
Okay.
And they weren't even really planning to retire quite yet. They knew they would retire soon. So we put a plan together, made sure that everything was, good to go, gave them the confidence that they can take the package and they're good. And then we went back and put together a different plan that showed here's the max budget for the first 10 to 12 years that you could spend this much more money in those go-go years and still have a very secure retirement all the way to the end of life. And so they're putting that extra budget into a lot of extra travel while they have the ability to go places and stay longer and do more, walking or hiking or things that might be a little more strenuous.
Yeah.
So that, that's on the positive side of it. Now I can think on the other side of it as well. A long time ago, 20 years ago, when I was really newer in the industry and putting plans together,
Mhm.
I did a plan for a couple. And I didn't do the kind of stress testing I do now.
Okay.
I used the software. I used what I had been taught. And because of this couple, it's one of the reasons I really do in-depth stress testing. They took that plan, looked at it, and said, oh, we don't want to leave that much to our kids.
Mm.
And they started spending more than they should. Like they didn't come back and say, well, how much could we spend?
Oh,
They just said,
okay.
we don't want to leave that much to our kids. Let's start spending money. And they spent more than they should have. So when they finally, came back and told me what they were doing, we then had to make some adjustments and they were fine.
Okay, as I said, the damage wasn't too bad, hopefully.
Yeah, no, they were fine, but they did have to pull in their belt a bit,
Sure.
tighten their belt a bit over what the original plan was because they had a little bit overspent. And so I think you've got to have a good plan so that you can really spend this in the go-go years and it's the right amount to spend and you're not going to be putting yourself, in a place where you're crimped later on.
Well, is that to the conversation, though, Liz, where you're sitting down with your advisor and you're saying, hey, listen, I don't want to get to, X age and have, too much left or whatever for the kids. That's all part of that
Yes.
chat back and forth, right? So you can say, hey, listen,
Yes.
in the planning stages, we want to spend it. We want to spend most of this on ourselves, right? So that's the kind of stuff you've got to talk to your advisor about so they can help you build that correct plan.
Yes, exactly. You do. And for everybody, it's different because some people
Sure.
want to have, I don't want to see my principal go down.
Yeah.
Other people, I don't want to leave more than, X amount.
Mhm.
And so there's a wide range but if you talk with your advisor and you stress test for that, then you can put a plan
Yeah.
together that will help you meet that. of course, you've got to do some updates along the way because
Absolutely, yeah.
life happens,
Right,
but
right. But
you
yeah,
can put a plan together for
yeah, you
that.
can run different scenarios and all that stuff, and that gives you an idea of where you can find that that happy medium, I suppose, between, because I'm sure that you both got to be on the same page too. You guys could have different opinions on how much you want to leave to the kids or the grandkids,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So all of that factors into that
Yes.
number two, which is wishing they had spent more when they first retire, when they can enjoy it, and it really leads to number three, which is people wish that on this list that they had taken better care of their health, which kind of makes a lot of sense because if you're in better shape, you can avoid to do more stuff in retirement, aka spend more,
Yeah.
right? So it all kind of plays together.
Right. Yeah, and that's a very good point that I hadn't even really taken the time to think about. That if you take care of your health early on, you're reducing that spending down the road.
That's true too.
And that is very true. But the fellow in the video said he's guilty of this, and he enjoys eating too many sweets, and he wants going to take their advice and get on a better track so
Right.
that he is healthier throughout retirement. And I think it's so important because we're living longer and we want to have quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not, I was thinking not about the spending side of it, but the quality of life and how, what is life like for you when you're in your 80s and 90s? I have one lady who's been a client for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
She's in her early 90s. She still drives. She still lives at home alone. She has help with things that she didn't used to have help with, maybe cleaning and
Sure,
going to
right,
the
yeah.
grocery store and things. But she's amazingly independent in her 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I have another client. They have both, husband and wife, have both been in wheelchairs. They're about the same age as this lady. And so she's living alone, very healthy. They're both in wheelchairs. Daughter has moved in. And part of it is a difference in the way they took care of themselves. Part of it is genetics. That plays
yeah.
into it. But, when you think about quality of life, you want to be able to still be doing your own stuff, going when you want to go, all of that. So that's where my mind went on this.
Yeah, and mobility is certainly a big piece of that. I was seeing, I think it's an Instagram account or something like that, and it's a lady. I want to say she's probably in her upper 50s, maybe lower 60s, and her mother's in her 90s, and they just post little videos every day of them, or every couple of days or whatever it is, of them doing really easy workouts for people over, basically over 60, right? And she's talking about how the fact they've been doing this for a number of years has really kept her mom, again, who's in her 90s, mobile. And that's the whole point, right? You want to be able to have that quality of life that you were talking about, have some of that mobility so that you can do things. And then it all ties into the money aspect as well. So good points for sure. And certainly no surprise that that's on this list. This one's interesting, Liz. Number 4, they wish that they had taken up a hobby. And I kind of found myself scratching my head there. But I guess if some people are, heavy workaholics and that's all they've ever really known and that's their kind of identity, which some people struggle with, when they go to retirement, they kind of feel like a little lost. Like, well, what do I do now? Because I don't have a hobby.
I could see that really happening because I am the type of person that is very involved in my work, and all of my hobbies, if you want to call them that, revolve around work. Like the studies that I'm doing, and I'm working on the master's in taxation right now. That's a hobby, but I'm not going to be doing that kind of stuff. If I'm in my 80s,
Right.
I'm not going to be taking a master's class. So I would need to have something that replaced that. The thing that the guy on the video said is once you start settling into retirement, they wished that they had something other than TV. And so he's already
Right.
thinking about what he's going to use to really give him motivation to do new things and stay active and get up in the day besides sitting in front of the TV.
Well, we say often, Liz, have something to
yeah.
retire to, right? When you
Right.
retire from the job or the career, what are you retiring to, right? So you need that too, whatever it is.
So I have one client that I would really copy, I think, when I hit retirement, which is going to be a long time from now because
Okay.
I'm not any place close to retirement.
Right.
But when I get there, this client, they're a couple, and they do travel. They go on cruises and they go overseas and they go to places within the United States. They go visit family. They do a lot of volunteering at places that they really care about and support. And they also go to the community college classes that are for seniors or for adults. And some of those classes are structured around history or around things that are places to see within the local area. So they've gone and visited places that had to do with gardening as a group with this class, or historical locations close by, or museums. And so it's pushing them out of their comfort zone, like things they wouldn't have just come up with on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a really good way to spend some time in retirement, because it gives you ideas that you're not sitting there trying to think of it on your own.
Yeah. And if you really, again, take a look at these things, you can certainly see how they interplay with one another in various facets. So it's no surprise that these are on the list from people that were being interviewed, that they, because again, you can see this with a lot of people. My mom's about to be 83, and certainly she feels the same way sometimes. I wish I had taken better care of my health so I could be a little bit more mobile, so I could do a few more things. She can't really do her hobbies that she used to do now because of the mobility, right? So it all kind of plays in together. So the final one here, Liz, is no surprise, I think, as well either, is they wish they had traveled more, which you could certainly roll back that to number 2, talking about wishing I had spent more. Maybe you didn't spend as much because you didn't feel as secure in your spending plan, and some of the items or some of the places you wanted to go see, now your body won't let you do it, right? So you can see, again, how these all kind of work together.
Exactly. And he made the point that at 75 to 80, not as likely to travel. That's person to person.
Sure.
Obviously. He said that they still travel, but they have changed how they travel. They're now driving so that they can take the dogs. They got dogs in retirement so that they would have, something to be responsible for and be doing every day, going on walks, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so they drive and take the dogs with them. And I thought that was a really, that was a good point that he made. But whether it's travel or whatever, I think if you want to have an experience, you need to create a way to have the experiences that you want, because at the end of life, what we don't want to have is regrets over the experiences we didn't take. We might have experiences that didn't work out quite as well as we wanted, or, but we'll feel a lot less regret over that than over the experiences that we wish we had taken that we didn't take. And there's a really good book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying that would go along with this topic, that was written by a lady who was a hospice nurse and spent a lot of time helping people at the end of life.
Yeah.
And she wrote a book about her experience. And one of the things that came out of that is really encouraging people to build those experiences, do the things, figure out how to do the things, because that's what you're going to be able to look back on and have those memories at the end of life.
Yeah. I mean, the bucket list, right? We call it the bucket list. Many people do. So, and again, all of these are conversation pieces that you not only should be having with your loved one or loved ones, but also with your advisor, so that you can strategize for it. And Liz, to your point, the takeaway that I got listening to you throughout this podcast was, strategizing and stress testing a plan for various scenarios so that you can kind of dial in what it is that you're truly looking for.
Right. If you know your extra budget, you can figure out how to make the most of that, as opposed to, not doing anything because you don't know you can spend it.
Right.
And so, if you're not sure, get a plan so you can be on your best path to have the best experience in retirement.
There you go. Exactly. It's that easy. So if you need some help, reach out to Liz. Of course, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify. Check out our YouTube channel as well, our YouTube page. I was going to say page and channel, and I couldn't make up my mind. I said panel. So check out our YouTube channel. You can find all that information at bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com. And of course, get on Liz's calendar if you need some help. You can do that there as well, so that you can retire on your best path with founder and financial advisor Liz Woodbury. Liz, thanks for hanging out.
Always fun, Mark.
Yes, ma'am. Always a good time. And we'll see you guys again next time here on the podcast. This is Retire on Your Best Path.
The preceding program is sponsored by Best Path Advisors, which is solely responsible for its content. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through J.W. Cole Advisors. Best Path Advisors, J.W. Cole Financial, and J.W. Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. The opinions expressed by Liz Whitberry should not be construed as specific tax, legal, or investment advice, nor as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Neither J.W. Cole Financial nor its representatives provide legal, tax, or accounting advice. Persons who provide such advice do so in a capacity other than as a registered representative of J.W. Cole. Investing is subject to risks, including the loss of principal. Due to volatility within the markets mentioned, opinions are subject to change without notice. Information is based on sources believed to be reliable, however, their accuracy or completeness cannot be guaranteed.